everybody. Good morning. You're watching us live, and we're here with a very special guest, someone who I had a chance to talk to last week who just warmed my heart, and she was kind enough to come into the studio today. So we're chatting with Ruth Wasserman Lande. She is a former Knesset member. She is a diplomat. I mean, I have a whole list here. I have to read it because it's so vast and incredible. A speaker, a diplomat, served in the IDF when she was 17 years old, and she was captain of the military intelligence, earned one of 2 graduate degrees from Harvard on a scholarship. The list goes on, but I want to get to it, and I want you to be inspired the way I was as we're talking today with Ruth Wasserman Lande. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shireen. It is an honor.
Oh, it's an honor to have you. So you are just this beacon of hope, and your story is so incredible. You grew up in South Africa, and at 17, you decided to get up and move to Israel to serve in the military.
Well, I was born in Israel, in the city of Ashdod, and when I was a little girl, we moved to South Africa, and most of my schooling and growing up was there indeed.
Right.
And then at the age of 17 and a half, I just up and went to Israel thinking that I could, capture it all.
I mean, I have 4 daughters. The whole purpose of LA Mom Magazine is to inspire moms. So inspire myself daily. And I think, how are we going to raise our kids with these strong values so they can really stand up for what they believe in and they can follow their life's purpose? And you're doing that. I mean, you knew that at 17. You got up and you moved to serve in the military. I don't know any 17-year-old girl who would do that. What was it inside of you that made you do that?
So actually, Shireen, it's crazy, but I knew when I was already 8 and when we left Israel, my parents tried to convince me that it was wonderful to go abroad and to check out new places. And in fact, I knew right there and then that I would come back to Israel as soon as I could. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it was a force inside of me. I brought my entire class to demonstrate outside our building. We had an 8-story building. So it was pretty loud demonstrating. The neighbors, of course, didn't love that, but it didn't help. We went through to South Africa. I'm very grateful to my parents who actually felt that I should get any feedback I could, the language skills, other skills, getting, used to a surrounding which is completely different to what I knew and I was familiar with. And then coming back at the age of 17, they supported that. They backed me up. As a mom, now I know what that means.
Yes, that is very challenging. And you're very lucky that have parents that believed in you and let you listen to your inner voice, right? At a very young age.
Which is not a given, Shireen, and I salute them for that. Of course, I had no idea that they were that brave when I was 17 because I thought I could do absolutely everything. But it is very scary to let your child go away to overseas. So I had my late grandmother, and that calmed them down. And nonetheless, this was something that, demanded a certain amount of courage on their behalf. And I totally salute that. Yeah.
So South African, you served in the military and you became a captain. And so I have a question that bothers many of us who are strong, proud Jews listening to the news out there. We heard the term loosely thrown around, apartheid, and they attack Israel for being an apartheid state. What are your thoughts on that? As a South African, you understand the term and you've served in the military. Tell us your thoughts.
Absolutely. So first of all, serving my country is very, very core for me. It's a very big part of who I am. I love Israel. I feel that as a sanctuary for the Jewish peoplehood, no matter what affiliation, what political camp, is a very, very important thing for the Jewish peoplehood, but also for the world in general, because the vast majority of the people in the country and the raison d'etre of the country as a whole is of giving. Yes, that's not the message that comes through on the news, of course. The international media does tend to focus on the negative, But by and large, there is a lot of giving, a lot of tikkun olam, which is a Jewish value of helping others in general and making the world a better place. So this is my inner drive to be there to do something. I felt that by serving in the Israeli military, but also serving society, later serving within politics and in social issues, was something that was very important for me. And that was, again, my drive, my inner force. Apartheid is misused in a horrific way, Shireen. You know, I lived in South Africa. I was shocked when I came to public parks to see benches having whites only, blacks only, and coloreds only written on them. I didn't even understand what that meant and what was the point of this ridiculous notion. You know, in Israel, when I was a child, there were people from all over the world. There were from Georgian Jews and Moroccan Jews and Russian Jews, and nobody cared what color or ethnic origin. We just played ball, and you know, all you needed to do was to be good at that, and that's what we cared about. And suddenly, I come to this place, and you know, there are cabins in the train for blacks only, and there are separate toilets, and people speak apartheid, but they don't understand what it really is. And Israel is not that. I would say Israel is not perfect. I'm the furthest thing away from anyone who would say that. And there's much to be done, which is, again, this is my mission. This is what I feel that I've dedicated my life to and shall continue to dedicate to making it better. And there's a lot to do. I'm also not belonging to the current coalition, the ruling coalition. And yet the inherent essence and the importance of Israel being there is untouchable. It is not an apartheid state. Apartheid is something altogether different and horrific, and something that, you know, we should keep away from. But this is very important to point out, I think.
And I think coming from you, because you've been there since you were 17, you've served in the military, you understand how people live together, and it is absolutely not apartheid. So hearing it from someone like you versus these young people who just throw this term around, and it's painful to hear because it's inaccurate.
Very. And again, I'm the last person not to have criticism. In fact, anybody who's following Israel properly, even a little bit, knows that Israelis are extremely critical, particularly now with the dichotomy in internal politics. But between that and apartheid, there is absolutely nothing. And if one needs to be professional, one needs to be very adamant about using the correct terms and the right terminology in terms of the energy that it, gives out.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about the time you spent as a diplomat in Cairo.
Oh, goodness.
My gosh. I mean, you're this
So real.
Jewish Israeli woman. You studied Islam, you learned Arabic.
Yes.
And you lived in Cairo.
3 years.
Wow.
Yes, wow.
And this is before you became a mother. You were single at this time.
Yes, which made it a little bit easier because all the crazy things that I did it all on my own. So I didn't take my kids to this craziness with me. But it was the most amazing experience of my life. It forged the way that I feel that I can see complex surroundings, and certainly being an Israeli, Jewish, unmarried woman in Cairo, even though I had my diplomatic immunity and everything, was quite a challenge. So I felt like 3 years I was trying to convince a lot of Egyptians that I was not an agent of the Mossad. And the more I tried, the less convincing I probably became, because it just sounded to them like the perfect conspiracy theory.
Oh my gosh. Yes. For anyone who's watched Tehran, I'm sure you fit that perfect mold, right?
What an amazing series. Of course, I wish I knew Farsi, but Arabic is quite beautiful as well.
Yes, yes, which is so, I mean, I'm still intrigued looking at you and thinking, I think I might think you were a Mossad agent too if I didn't know.
Not quite, but
So you had your time in Egypt, and then you really stepped up and became a huge proponent of the Abraham Accords,
absolutely.
which I think a lot probably had to do with your time in Egypt and knowing the Arab world and understanding Islam and wanting to forge these relationships. Talk to us a little bit about your role in that.
Sure. So, first of all, the fact that I had learned Arabic prior to going to Egypt and was exposed to the Arab world, living within it, touching it, smelling it, it wasn't like studying it at school. It was breathing it, breathing the dust and the lack of oxygen and the pollution in Cairo. There was something, I know it sounds crazy, but magical about it. It opened my eyes to perspectives that changed and formed my professional life. And when I came back after 3 years, I worked very closely within the framework of being the Deputy Director General of the Federation of All Local Governments in Israel, with a lot of the Arab municipalities as well. We have 94 of them in Israel out of 256. So that's not one or two, that's 22% of the population. Some of them are mixed cities, some of them are Bedouin, some of them are Christian in their nature, some of them are mixed. Christian and Muslim, it depends. But there are 94 Arab municipalities. And I did a lot of work, part of it voluntary, but also part of it within the capacity of my job at the time, building sustainable sources of income for the Arab Israeli communities. And this was something that connected me even more to the Arab raison d'être, the reality, the day-to-day lives, and the mentality and the culture and the language even more. And I commentated a lot on I-24 News, on Israeli different channels, on international channels regarding the geostrategy on the one hand, so the regional aspect, and the Arab world and the Arab Israeli community from within. So this is not a common combination. Usually it's either or, but my fascination was with from outside and from within, because there is a connection. And then one of the first things that I did as a member of Knesset when I began my parliament session was in fact set up the first of its kind Abraham Accords caucus with a co-chair who was from the other side of the political map, a Likud member, currently the Minister of Science and Technology, Ophir Akunis. And the reason was to demonstrate how this inherent issue was transcending the political affiliation. It needed to be bipartisan because it was of strategic value to the interest of the state of Israel. And we did amazing things. We hosted people. We had people from Bahrain coming to visit, from the UAE, Morocco, and basically brought together a concept which is far beyond security or economics or technology or medical cooperation. It's a people-to-people bond which broke the Iron Curtain behind Israel in the region. This is shattering
It's amazing.
dogmas and something that was stuck in people's minds, that Israel is not legitimate and it needs to be apologized for within the Middle East. No more. And that for me was truly fascinating.
Incredible. I mean, you said it perfectly. It's people to people. We're each human beings. And I think as a woman, we can really speak
Absolutely.
to that in a deep way. And you went a step further. So Abraham Accords were all the men at the table. And you created a space where women, Israeli and Arab women would come together to create that peace. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think most
Sure.
people don't know about it.
So it's a very initial it's in its initial stages, but basically the Sara and Hajar Accords, which are not instead of the Abraham Accords, they are, I would say, adjacent and complementary, are not my creation. I cannot take the credit for it, but I was one of the first main signatories representing Israel on it, together with an amazing lady from the UAE, from Bahrain, and from Morocco. But the actual creator of this initiative is the ambassador for UNESCO, Gila Quesos. And she really thought up an amazing platform for empowering women via diplomatic channels, via professionalism that is, I think it is a beacon for all women, and particularly in our region where Israeli women had it more difficult to be part and parcel with other countries until the Abraham Accords came through.
I mean, I just think it's so fascinating to see when women are at the table, how different the conversation is.
You know, you're right, Shireen. It brings an element which, I mean, I have absolutely nothing against the men, giving their feedback, chasing their dreams, being empowered. But there is something that is different, empathetic. Not all of us, but there is an element which is within that is perhaps a teeny little bit less ego oriented.
Yes.
And it may have a positive impact on negotiations, on internal strife, on geostrategy. I really believe in that. And I think that the world has not yet given a true chance to see whether that comes through or not. Maybe it's about time.
Well, I think you're paving the way. I mean, you are a trailblazer.
First of all, thank you, Shireen. But my dream is, for example, to see something like a very strongly male dominated arena, for example, such as internal security in my country, in which crime and violence has gone up completely unsustainably in the past decade or so. Illegal weapons are running around, some of them used for criminal purposes, for extortion money, but a lot of them for terrorism as well. These kinds of platforms are manipulated by external elements like Iran and others to do whatever they want to do, not for the benefit of the people, but for the benefit of promoting their regional dreams and wish for hegemony. And I want to see more women in that field, with the police, with the law enforcement, with the empathetic need to raise the trust between the public, the general public, and the law enforcement agencies who are actually there to keep things stable.
Yeah.
And stability is a very important element to have other things in place, like education, like infrastructure, like technology and science. We need to feel safe.
Yes, we do. I mean, when you have a police officer, a female police officer, pull you over versus a male police officer.
It's different. But there's also a need to in a manner of speaking, I know it sounds terrible because, we have these stereotypes of what policemen and women are. They are doing their job. I'm not saying every single policeman and woman in the world are perfect, but they need to have the authority to carry out what it needs to keep the public space safe. And Israel is really facing challenges in that arena. I think it's a huge issue, a little bit unspoken of in terms of the international media, but something that will raise its head. And I write about it very often in the Jerusalem Post, in Ma'ariv, in Hebrew, in English. I commentate on it very often, and it has become an issue which also has an impact on international affairs and the standing of Israel.
It does, absolutely.
Yes.
But I think you're absolutely right. So the question is, how do we get women into these places? Because I think it's very hard as a woman to think, okay, well, I want to have my profession, but I also want to be a wife and a mother. And we see you doing it from the sidelines, it looks like it's just so effortless, right? You're in LA.
Well,
So tell us honestly, I mean,
yeah.
for young women who are watching, who are just starting their lives, how do you do it?
So first of all, I'm a simple, humble person, and anybody can do it. It's just a matter of will, and that's just not just a mantra. It's a matter of deciding that you want to do it. You do it. So willpower is a huge factor. Second of all, there's nothing to be afraid of. The worst thing that can happen is that you try again and again and again. Out of 10 times, if you fall 9 and you stand up once, you did it. Nobody will remember the other 9 times. And this is a very important thing to recall because it's not easy. At the moment, I'm in LA on a series of talks and interviews, and I'm here with my 2 girls. So one is 13, the other is 11. But I did leave my son in Israel with his father, my husband, and it's not easy. I can't lie and tell you that it's just, a rosy path. But it is what it is. And we speak on the phone every day on video. And I try to maneuver. I wake up very, very early to get everything in.
What time do you wake up? What's early?
I don't know if you'll believe me, Shireen, but at 4:30. So I have to exercise. Otherwise, I'll go nuts. I have to do my workout and breathe and organize my day. And then you get a lot done by mid-morning if you wake up that early.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. So if you look back on your life, because I was, when I was looking you up and I said this to you off camera, we have the same birthday. We're
Amazing.
only 1 year. You're only 1 year older than I am. And I think to myself, wow, you're remarkable. You have achieved so much. You have fostered so much change.
Thank you so much.
It is just, I'm so inspired by you. And I think,
Thank you.
wow, it's achievable.
It is achievable. Again, it's a matter of willpower. Of course, it does help to have a person, particularly in the starting years, that believes in you. But more importantly, you just need to believe. I know it sounds a little bit cliched, but believe, gave God-given powers. They're there. They're there. And I cannot say I had it easy. The path and the road were not paved for me. I did it. And I'm doing it. And I have a long, long way to go and a lot more to achieve and to study. And I need that hug and encouragement and the warmth and the feeling that I'm doing something meaningful. It fills me. And it fills anybody, I believe, that wants to give. So I think that energy
Yes.
that you have as well, Shireen, of giving to others and to the public, sort of combined and connected, and that's what made us
Right.
sort of click.
That's right. I mean, what you say is so right. If your cup is not full and overflowing, you cannot give to anybody else.
Very true. Very true. Again, despite the fact that some people may hear a cliche, I really take that. It's true. It's true very deeply.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing today is fill your cup, listen to your instinct, believe in yourself.
Instinct. Instinct is a very important element in our being. Yes.
Right.
Very often we sort of negate it
Yes.
and then let our minds take over. I'm all for instinct.
And
Very
women have
important.
strong instincts.
Absolutely.
And we need to trust it.
We should try.
We should trust it and go forward. And you are just this beacon of hope. You are a true inspiration. We could speak for hours about geopolicy and all that great stuff. But everyone who doesn't know Ruth Wasserman Lande, you can all go to, where can they find out more about you? Where can they read your articles? Where can people get more about what you're doing?
So first of all, I have it all over my social media, my Facebook page, Ruth Wasserman Lande. I have obviously Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, basically almost everything. And of course, I write a weekly column for the Jerusalem Post and Ma'ariv in Hebrew, if one prefers. And I commentate often on I-24 News for the English speakers. I commentate on Channel 13 and others in Israel. So basically, it's not that difficult. And I'm also very open to speak to women in general, and particularly young women and men who are looking for their path and to make a meaningful contribution and impact for the Jewish peoplehood and for Israel. And believe it or not, whether one feels connected or not, it's all one.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I thank you for your remarkable work, and thank you for joining us in the studio today.
It is an honor for me. Thank you, Shireen.
And you saw it all right here with Ruth Wasserman Lande, and we'll see you all next time.